welcome to Glitter and Gators, you guys. Somebody already said that pile of bones and the word death looks ominous to me.
Yup.
Oh, we're getting weird today. Not really.
It's fun to talk
It's
a little weird stuff.
winter.
Yeah. Want to hang out.
Yeah. We've been chit-chatting this morning already on FaceTime. We got to do a FaceTime finally now that Lisa has her new iPhone that she's been obsessed with.
I'm so excited I can FaceTime. It was so fun. I just carried her around with me, got my coffee.
It was so awesome. Her camera follows her, which I've never seen before. Thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it does this weird thing where like it follows my face. So if I like move the phone over here, it's still just like re-angle. It's so trippy.
It's trippy. I was like, Lisa, it's like following your face.
I'm totally still eating my breakfast, y'all, just so you know.
Hey,
that's how we're rolling.
I just all I have is a drink. Okay, so I just tried this. It's a hydration. It's supposed to be for like hydration, help with headaches, this, that, and the other.
You have a headache?
Well, yeah, girl, I've had headaches for the past like 2 weeks. But like if I get enough hydration, I'm fine. It's because I don't drink enough. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
It's not because you're hungover?
Huh?
It's not because you're hungover?
Oh, I mean, it might be a little bit. Maybe a little bit. But this is coconut water, orange juice, and cranberry. It's really good.
That sounds really good. That sounds really good.
Yeah, it's mostly the coconut water, and then like I just put a splash of each. I don't measure. I do that shit with my full chest.
Yeah, you got to measure with your heart.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my God, the best pineapple I ever had. Costco had it for a very short time, and then it went away, and Peggy and I look for it now every single time. And we found they had pineapple spears like in jars that were, instead of being in fruit juice, they were in coconut water. When I tell you the way you could just pull these out and just num 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 num, and it was like you get that hint of coconut, but it wasn't too sweet because it wasn't in fruit juice. It was coconut water, not coconut like juice.
Yes. That sounds amazing.
It was so good.
Oh, so good. That sounds amazing.
Oh no, Deyanira has stress streams. Stress streams are not fun. No. Sam's has those pineapple spears. Well, can somebody find them in Canada again, please? Because I have not found them since that one time at Costco, and they were so good, and they would be hydrating too. So like mutual, like double benefit.
Double benefits. Double benefits. Yeah. I get those little hydrate, you know, like the little like liquid IVs or whatever every once in a while.
What the heck is a liquid IV?
So it's okay. You know, like those little packets that you like get to flavor your water. Okay, so it's one kind of like that, but it's called a liquid IV. They have a couple different ones, just like hydration. I don't know. It's kind of like an intense Gatorade.
Okay.
Kind of vibe, I guess. I don't know. I find
like
they work.
Electrolytes or whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's all the boost things. Yeah, electrolytes. Thank you, Barb. Yeah, like you know,
that sounds real good. You guys, I had such a like freak out this morning. Oh, look, it's all gone. I was putting on my glitter and gator shirt. You can't even tell.
You cannot even tell.
Glitter and gator shirt, and it like I had already done my makeup. Dani and I are FaceTiming. I'm putting on my shirt. I get makeup, like I get lipstick. I was doing the stretchy thing so you don't like touch your face, but the actual floppy part of the shirt like smacked me in the face naturally.
Oh wait.
So I got lipstick on it. Oh no, we weren't FaceTiming yet. We were still gliding. Anyway, and then I'm like trying to figure out all these different like cleaning. Like I'm like, so I used makeup remover, obviously. I was like, how do you get lipstick off? Because water wasn't working, like nothing was working. And then yeah, sure enough, I got my makeup remover and then a hair dryer to dry it. Now you can't tell, and I'm so happy because it was like a pretty pink mark.
It was. And I would listen, I am the worst at getting shit all over. Like I have to be careful. I'm like, am I going to drink something? Am I going to eat something?
There's a reason I don't have white shirts. I don't think I own not a white shirt that I wear out in public. I have a white chamois shirt.
Like a whole dumbass, but you know.
Oh my God.
You guys, we are talking about death. although it doesn't seem like it right now.
No.
But that's what we're going into today on Glitter and Gators. We were chit-chatting about a bunch of different stuff, and this kind of came up, and I thought it would be fun. I know, weird to talk about death right now because we're going into winter.
It's a dark half of the year.
Dark half of the year, right? So why not? Because there's so much that's kind of tied into it, not only with the tarot, with spirituality in general, with all kinds of woo-woo stuff. So I was like, why not? Why not? You know?
It's the big existential question of life, right? Like, it's like, what happens when we die? It's afterlife. It's all of it. Like, what happens? What's our deal? What's our deal? But yeah, it's a big subject. But I think it's good for this time of year because we are turning more reflective, I think, but also there's the non-corporeal, like non-physical type of death we deal with at this time of year too. We recognize our losses, we recognize what's not here anymore. I think it's in one spiritual path that I followed for years, this was a time of descent and confrontation. So now we're in kind of, as we move into like the dead of winter, it's confrontation. It's like when you're face to face with all the things. So I think it's appropriate for this time of year to talk about.
I do too. I always think of going into winter and like walking that, and that's why I really like the word, like that confrontation, right? To describe it, because I always imagine winter time as like walking down stairs in this like earthen place, but just walk like kind of into that hibernation space, into that den, like just that descent down, that walk down. And that really makes me like kind of imagine what you're literally coming face to face with as you take a step down into the darkness, you know? So I like that kind of idea of confrontation.
If you think about it, like if you were to go on a physical journey to represent, and there actually have been like I want to say like what is it called, the Elysian Mysteries,
yeah, I know what you're talking about,
where symbolically it's this idea of like Persephone going down into the underworld. But a lot of times, I've only heard, I haven't ever actually participated, but I've heard here bits and pieces, but there's this concept of like going into a cave or going into someplace dark to sort of face that transition and then emerging out again as this idea to represent death and rebirth, right? Exactly. And it makes sense. That confrontation imagery makes sense to me because when you like fall, autumn time is like where you're sort of descending into this energy, this deeper energy. Winter becomes that confrontational space because in that quiet and in that stillness and in the dark, we are like faced with our own thoughts, our own ideas, our own fears, our own shadows, all the things that maybe are easier to ignore when life is more emergent and growing and abundant. And like when we're moving into this cold, kind of lonely period of time for a lot of people, I feel like it highlights self, and these big questions are the ones that tend to come up for us around this time of year for sure.
I agree, especially that like that sense of like lonely. Like I've done a few readings recently that exact thing came up. I'm like, it's going to be quiet this year. It's going to be lonely. It might be isolating at times. That's how it's going to feel. But know that that's not your reality. That's where your mind is going, right? And it was like, but it is such a really good analogy because I feel like, I don't know, those kinds of like this time of year, there's almost a comfort in that to me.
It's a shared experience, I think maybe is part of it. Like we know other people are going through it at the same time. It's like an awareness that we're all there.
Yeah, it's like no matter what it is, it's like it could be dealing with grief, like you said, especially around this time of year, you realize what's not there anymore because this is when traditions come up. These are our rituals, you know, for lack of a better term. And it's like you're having to do these things maybe without someone or, you know, with big changes or whatever that may be. And it's like that's a sort of grief within itself. There is a loss. There is a bigger feeling felt this time of year because this is how we notice, you know, like this is, I feel like as humans, this time of year and probably going into summer feel like the biggest energies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we all feel some type of way that all connects at those particular times of year because it's like, I don't know. I kind like, I don't know. Just the way that made me feel. I'm like trying to articulate what I'm trying to say in
No.
this moment. But
Yeah.
like, it's that kind of coming together. We share this the most. Like we are
Yeah.
like the animals. This is our hibernation. And like, I feel like we all have a little part of that there. We all die a little in the winter.
Yeah. Like Krista says, going into a solstice versus an equinox always feels like a bigger shift. I totally
Yes.
agree. I feel like the peaks of the year are the most, I don't want to say the most potent, because actually, and as I'm saying that, I'm like, ooh, but is that true? No, it's not potency maybe so much as depth, or I guess like it's almost like the summer solstice is kind of like the time when we're at the peak of vibrance or the peak of
Right.
that.
The peak.
And then in the wintertime we're at the peak of depth, or like the bottom of the deepest part of the cycle. So
Exactly.
I think that's why I like that, like you said, that imagery, that descent. And it's funny because that Wheel of the Year model, that's from the Avalonian tradition, from like the Sisterhood of Avalon. And
Okay.
it's like, so you have descent in the fall, confrontation in the winter, emergence, and then resolution. So it's very, it energetically absolutely makes sense to me that's the
Oh yeah.
cycle, that we have that resolution or completion in the summer and that confrontation in the winter, which you could of course then layer on top of a map like of the major arcana, and like you can
Like you
totally,
could do the whole thing.
I love maps and
But that's
models.
the whole
I have
point.
spreadsheet
It's like
brain.
it's all that representation of that death and rebirth throughout
Mhm.
every day, every year, every whatever, like just passing through these high
Yeah.
points that kind of come in and dip real down. And I always like, I'm going to be honest, ever since I was a kid, like the idea of ghosts and haunts at this time of year, it's like Samhain is just like a light. And then for
Mm,
me, throughout the whole winter, it just attracts the souls, right? It's like
yeah.
it lights the candles that attracts everything. Cause I find this pulls straight through the winter. I feel like this is where you sit, like you said, that kind of confrontation. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the spirit world is right next to us right now. And like, I think it's because I see it with people, I see it with, my friends or, whatever that kind of come to me and like, I've been feeling like this and I've been noticing these things. And it's just like, it's just so interesting that like that activity just blooms and blossoms so much in the winter. And it does feel like it
Yeah.
haunts us no matter what it is.
I think that's really an interesting point. And I have a theory about this time of year, specifically as we get into sort of the second half of December. And it came about because of an experience. I think I might have mentioned it somewhere in some of any of these. So if this is a repeat story for anybody, I apologize. But Christmas Eve, uh, I remember one year, this would have been when I was like 20, early 20s, we'll say early, maybe mid 20s. I had this really, really vivid, potent, like apocalyptic style, like end of the world nightmare on Christmas Eve. And I woke up Christmas morning just completely unsettled. And I was talking to somebody, and it became this chain reaction thing where I mentioned it to somebody I was with that Christmas morning, and they said I had a really similar dream, and we were comparing notes. And then because that happened, and we were both really tripped out about it, we kept talking about it to other people, and it turned out like half the people that I interacted with that day had some kind of really intense, almost world-ending style dream that particular year. And it's stuck with me ever since because it was such a powerful thing, and it formed the basis of a theory I have, which is that I believe in things like where and I think there's enough actual science to support this idea too, that we have moments of where globally humankind is more connected than at other times, and that can be because of world events. We've experienced that with huge big world events where we're all like, having some collective consciousness is kind of how I see
Collective.
it.
Yeah.
And I think that winter holiday time, there are traditions around the world, all around the same time, cross culturally. And I know there's variances in specific timing, but there's something about this time of year that I think brings our consciousness more into alignment than at other times of the year, because there's more cohesion across like holiday traditions and things like that.
Agreed.
And I think that collective consciousness aligns us, number one. and also allows us to tap into something that we might otherwise not have the power to tap into. Almost like it, because we can tap into each other's energy, everything is a little bit heightened and we're more sensitive and we're more able to pick up on. And so that
Yes.
collective consciousness kind of potency hits, along with, at what other time of the year, if we were to get like sentimental for a moment, would our past loved ones or lost beloved most want to connect? And so those entities being closer and us all feeling more, having heightened sensitivity, is like the perfect recipe for more of those encounters, intuitive moments, psychic hits,
Yes.
mediumship moments, etc., that maybe we would never experience at any other time of the year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It feels like no matter, like you said, no matter where in the world, you are, these peak moments, everyone had some sort of ritual of some kind.
Yeah.
Some kind of gathering of souls, right?
Yeah. And
You
since the
gather the
age,
souls.
for ages, it makes sense, because this
It
this
does.
would have been the hardest time in antiquity, right? This would have been the hardest time when you're just really need to get through the coldest months, the darkest months. You can't grow things. You can't and the isolation that would come along with the cold and not being able to get to one another. I mean, there's so many just shared human experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that it just holds all of that. And in that cycle, it's like, this is where we meet. This is where it clicks in,
Mhm.
those. And like you said, it was the most difficult time. It was the time that everybody pulled together the most, I'm sure, throughout all of history,
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh my God. So, hard turn, but
Right.
I remembered the other day, because Jacob and I were talking about it like a night ago. Do you remember how I asked you? So everybody, I asked Lisa the other day. I was walking around this little pathway that I go when I go pick up my little girl, and there's a little graveyard, a little cemetery on the side of somebody's yard, just like a little thing, and they have like the tombs or whatever. And I'm like, do y'all have up there, y'all have just little
Just
family, just random
spots?
little cemeteries?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. We have
And she was like,
no, we have regular cemeteries. Like there's one just near here. I don't think, outside of maybe somebody having made a little memorial to a beloved pet or something, I've ever seen anything on anybody's personal property. That's wild to me.
yeah, we
But
have
also,
that down
if you
here.
think about it, it's kind of also, how old is your land? That sounds weird. How old is the modern settlement on your land, I guess, is maybe the better way to put it.
Yeah, which is
Because
like
I think that,
1600s here.
yeah, West Coast is so much newer. I remember even visiting Peggy in St. Thomas, Ontario. One of the things that is so normal out there are these hundreds of years old buildings. They're just everywhere. There's all these old buildings. And that's just not the thing on the West Coast the same way. It's just not.
It's not.
Oh, Barb says, I don't think we can have personal cemeteries in Canada. Are we not allowed? Is that against the law?
So over here, we have what's called family cemeteries, which are those, which is I could go right down the road. There's a little patch that's just a little patch, and it's got a little fence around it. Some of them do, some of them don't. But this one has a little fence around it, and they have a bunch of the tombs just there. And of course, in Louisiana, we have actual tombs. So it comes up out the ground. It's cemented to kind of hold everything, because we have obviously a low water table, and if we don't do that, they're not going to stay in the ground.
You're gonna have floating. That would not be good.
And so even with those things, we have had
I was gonna say,
we have had, matter of fact, down in Henry, which is kind of a lower. So I'm in a parish that is a coastal parish, but I'm not as coastal as they coastal, right? They close to the coast. So down there, a little bit further down, there was a cemetery that somebody I know's relative was in, and it flooded really bad. And even with the stones, everything was everywhere. Like some people had to go and identify if they could, just to figure out
No, ma'am. No.
what was what. It was
Nope.
bad.
Nope. 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 Nope.
It was not good.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's got to be practical issues with all of that. Yeah, Barb says Google says in BC it's unlawful to bury human remains anywhere except where the law allows, such as licensed cemeteries or on land specifically set aside under other laws. Crazy. And somebody said in Australia, yeah, Shell said in Australia they have more private.
That's cool. Yeah, we have those. Now we have our bigger ones. We have the ones in Maurice and like the bigger ones, but we a lot of especially because it's rural back here. Like everywhere is so rural. Like sometimes it just wasn't worth it. They would just like set apart, and then like I think now to do that now, like someone has to like set aside that land, and then it can't be touched because now it has to be considered a cemetery or graveyard or whatever.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But me and Jacob were talking about that the other day. I'm like, dude, I was like, I bet they don't let people do natural burials here.
Yeah.
Like where there's no, like you just wrap it up and put it in the ground.
Well, yeah, because the land is so damp.
I know. I was like, dude, that's such a bummer.
That would
I would love
me.
to do that.
But I wonder if things like that, where the origin, does it make you wonder if this is going to sound really disrespectful, so bear with me, but like if things like that were the origin of like zombie stories and stuff, or like, you know what I mean? If you think about it,
yeah.
Because back in the day, they didn't have like these heavy coffins and things like that. So if water did rush through an area and things were rising or emerging, then that would freak people out. And
that would definitely freak people
with
out.
Superstitions and such, it makes sense that you would have this like, how would you explain that if you didn't understand the science of it? Like obviously there's logic. If it's bad enough, you're going to understand. Okay,
but I mean, at the same time, like the living dead, there have been tales beyond. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
I'm sorry, y'all.
All good. It does make you wonder.
I love cemeteries though. Yeah, me too. I find them very peaceful as well. I love a good stroll. I used to walk around this church and I'd go into the cemetery almost every day. I loved it. I love going in the cemetery. I like to look. I like to see.
I've never really, I feel like it's funny because I was just thinking that there's one not far from us here. I was like, that'd be nice to just go walk through.
I love watching the people that will go and find the ones that have like recipes on them, or like that have like
put recipes on their tombstones.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's this one girl that I watched. She would go to different cemeteries, find some recipe, make it, and bring one back to put on the grave.
Oh, that's the cutest idea ever.
It was amazing. I'm like, oh my God,
super cute.
That's so great. It's just like the little like epitaphs that they used to put. I love looking up gravestones. I do. I love looking. I love looking at them. Like, like going in person. We don't have a lot of ours are like crumbly, the old ones.
Yeah.
But I really love to look up some of the oh God, where are they from? I want to say they're the north, like in the Northeast, that have like all the designs on them, and then like little epitaphs, and like they're like little fancy ones, but they're really, really old, and I can't remember where it is, but we don't have those around here. I want to say it's in the Northeast that they have those kind of stones.
That's interesting. That's kind of like, so much of that is what you find in it's fresh of mind because we were just finishing up a deck study on it. But the Deviant Moon Tarot, like that's what Patrick Valenza does. Is he takes photos of like gravestones and textures from cemeteries, and that all gets worked into his art. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
there's some really cool stuff. But yeah, I like seeing Peggy and I feel like we either went by, I can't remember now. My memory's terrible. If we went into a cemetery or we went by one, but I remember noticing it felt and seemed so much older. Like out here, like most of the stuff I've seen has been newer. So like the newer like marble like square things in the ground
Oh yeah, yeah.
and that kind of stuff. But it's funny because my family, we don't, I don't think anybody in my family has like a gravestone somewhere. We were all like, my family, it's a lot of cremation, getting sprinkled somewhere. My grandma's on Mount Rainier, like my mom's at the
We
beach.
was Catholic, baby. You don't burn them. Oh no, no,
No,
no,
I was
no,
going to
no.
ask you about that, about like funeral rituals, because I've only been to one Catholic funeral situation. I was like in my, it was actually the girl that did the very first tarot reading I ever had. We were in a little Irish band together. I played the penny whistle and she played the, I still have my penny whistles, and
That's
she
so
played
awesome.
the bodhran. And we had a cello player and a violinist, and we had a little like set, a little Irish set. And we would go to pubs and play, and we would play on the beach, and we'd go to the mountains. And anyway, she was 30 years old and just totally, she had some headaches. And then one day she was just gone and she'd had an aneurysm. And it was like really impactful, obviously, at the time, because I'd never had anybody my age, especially. But I really had only my grandparent had died at that point in my life. So I'd like had no experience with it. And her family was Catholic and they did a viewing.
Mhm.
Ma'am, that is the creepiest bullshit. I'm sorry. Never, ever, ever again would I ever want to go to a viewing. And you do them every time, right?
Every time.
Horrible. Hated.
Horrible.
Those people do not look like. I'm sorry, but
To
they're.
have a wake, well, we call it a wake, right?
Wait, is it a wake and a viewing? Are they separate or together?
We just call it a wake because
Okay.
back in the day, um, they have an old Cajun song about it, J'ai passé devant ta porte, that talks about walking by somebody's door and seeing the
Yeah.
funeral candles lit. You would have the body in the living room or, in the house, basically, and you
Yeah.
would light the candles, and it was a way you didn't leave the dead.
Yeah.
The first night you stayed with the dead kind of idea.
Right. That's kind of beautiful.
But
But
ever since I was little, like I didn't know there was any other way than to be pumped full of fluids and laid out in your coffin, and you got to go and you got to kneel by the body and you got to say your little prayers and you got to, whatever. That's what you had to do. Like you didn't go in and not go. You went in, you went up to the body, you knelt down, you said your prayers, and then, yeah, like it was
semi-scarred.
like a thing.
Like,
And then like
but
you would
they don't
sit
look like
at night, you
themselves.
would come do the rosary, huh?
But they don't look like themselves.
No.
They don't.
Mm-mm.
I think that's the thing that's like I know that people do a really good, like the people that process that do embalming and stuff do a really good job. And I mean, compare, but it was that was the thing that I wasn't prepared for. I think you assume they're gonna look like they're sleeping and like they're just,
Yeah, they
but they don't
don't.
look like themselves. And I'm
I
sorry, I
guess
totally
we're so.
interrupted, but you said they stay up, you stay up with
Oh,
them, and then you do a rosary. You were saying?
oh yeah.
Sorry.
Well, we usually do. Well, I mean, for the old people, like
Yeah.
especially you had somebody come in and do the rosary in Cajun French.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I've been to one that's ever not been in French, except for nowadays.
Wow.
That was like a big thing. Like you found someone,
To do it in
even if
French.
no one spoke French, you found someone who knew how to say the rosary in French, and you had them come say the rosary. Like that was like a thing.
Yeah.
Now I don't think they do it anymore, but I know they used to allow the family to sleep there.
Yeah.
And then it's another day where people can come say their last goodbye, and then you close the casket. You go through the
Yeah.
church, have a mass, basically, or like sometimes some people do a full mass. It was like a lot. But anyway,
Yeah.
you pass it through the church, and then you go to the graveyard and,
Do
do
the
the whole
thing.
funeral ceremony. Like it was just a long process, and it was most of the time 2 days long.
Wow. Yeah, Raven Hollow says, for me, having a wake helps me disconnect the body from the person's spirit that has passed on. That's really beautiful if you think about it, because when you see that they don't look like themselves, it's because their spirit is not there anymore. That's a really beautiful way to acknowledge that shift and to accept that change. I think that's a really, really important thing to point out.
Yeah. And
But
I
it's difficult for sure.
I really do feel like, and unless you've been in a room with a dead body, like it's really hard to fathom what it's like when someone isn't there anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, this is just a meat suit. Like they're not in there anymore.
No.
This body is here, but they're not there anymore.
Yeah. And
And
you
like
feel that
that's
like and not to I'm going to take it someplace really confronting. So this is a hard topic for you because I'm talking
oh yeah,
literal death. Um but I was in the hospital room when my mom took her very last breath. And it's really hard to describe, but you absolutely know it.
you
It's
know
not
it.
like, oh, she's just breathing a little. Like, I don't know how to describe this. There is a deep primal knowledge of that was the last breath, and
That
you
was
like
it.
you know it instantly. At least I knew it instantly. And
So
at that moment, I think it's very interesting to think about it this way, that the breath is in essence spirit. There's a word called ruach you find in the Bible actually that literally can be translated as breath or spirit interchangeably. And I think that's really interesting because that's
interesting.
what it's like. It's like when the breath leaves you, the spirit leaves you, the soul leaves you at that time or whatever, depending on your views of death and what that looks like. I think that's really powerful because that was the shift. It's like with that last breath, their spirit is gone.
Yeah.
It's very palpable.
Yeah.
It's very palpable.
It really is. You know, I'll never forget, you know, I sat and listened to more than one of my grandparents.
Yeah.
And it's like it, especially with
Oh,
my grandma, that was really impactful because I had sat there with a baby monitor on all day.
oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And it was just like my brain just kept that rhythm in the back of my head as I
Yeah.
worked. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? And
yeah.
then
Oh,
all of a
yeah.
sudden it was like, where's the rhythm?
Yeah. And you know it.
You know it
Yeah.
immediately.
Like Krista said
Immediately.
about a pet loss. And yeah.
Pet, yeah,
Yeah. Exactly. And it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff, and at the same time it's also oddly comforting to
it is.
know that that spirit is going someplace. We can't all feel this and have it mean nothing. It's not like it just dissipates into the ether. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like something leaves and goes someplace else,
And
and
goes
wherever that
elsewhere.
someplace else is for you in your practice, your spiritual beliefs, whatever, the fact that we all, it seems like, can feel that presence, and when it's not there tells me that there's something that outlasts the body,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't feel that. We wouldn't sense that. I don't think that's a psychological all in our head thing. I think it's something we're feeling and experiencing, not just imagining and thinking, because there's a difference there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So to me, that underscores and validates all of our, I guess, beliefs around what happens after death. Even if we don't know exactly, I think it
Right. I
validates
mean,
it.
no one's ever come back to tell us otherwise. You know what I'm saying?
Wouldn't that be great though? Like everybody's talking about like
Mhm.
first contact from aliens. I'd really like first contact from the deceased. That's what I want. I want like a sit down conversation over tea, and I
Same.
want the entire download. I want to know, like, please tell
I
me
would
what
love
happened.
a Christmas Carol moment. Okay.
Yes.
That I think I was gonna say that when I was talking about like even as a kid, like I've always been like that fascination with ghosts because the Christmas Carol is one of my favorite shows. No matter, I mean, like any way, shape, or form, I'll watch them even if they're shitty. I
Yeah.
might never watch them again, but I'm gonna probably try it because I just love the
That
story
story.
in general.
Yeah. I think it's a great story.
And oh shit, I lost my train of thought again. God damn it.
No, it's okay,
Where
but
was I
there's great.
going?
So I understand. Yeah. Um, we were talking about the spirit
Oh,
palpable.
talking to spirits. Yeah,
We're talking spirits. Yeah.
I was like, I like that's the kind of moment I want. Like, send it to me. I want to talk to someone. Well, I don't care what I have to do. You know, I'll
Yes.
have my three
Betty
spirit
White.
moment.
Robbie says, I want Betty White to come back. Yes, I would love Betty White would be the best because you know she would give it to you real. She would
Straight.
she would tell you the absolute, and she would tell it in the best way possible. It'd be amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That would be so
Yeah.
awesome. And then like I find no matter what at least in my experience, and maybe that's just, you know, a lot of the people that I get into conversations about this with are from down here. But it's like, I feel like everyone has had some sort of experience with kind of having that very subtle contact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
like
I do.
where, I don't know, it's like, it feels like so many have just been like, yeah, but there are some things I just can't quite explain, you know? Like, no matter what their belief system, there's always like, I don't know if I've ever known anyone that's just like, I don't believe there's anything ever.
No, like
I've had people say that, but like in the next breath would say something where I'm just like, well, maybe you don't though.
There's a mantle clock that my grandfather had. And when my grandmother died, it stopped at the exact time of her death. There's like, I had a visit from my grandma, again, first family death. So it was like, and I was like 13 or 14. So it was fairly impactful. And it's so funny because my grandma had been in the hospital. She'd had cancer, and we didn't go to the hospital like right at the very end. I don't remember if we went at all as kids. They might have just kept us from that because we'd seen her when she was like not well, but not when she was in the hospital, not well. But I remember my parents had gone to the hospital and I had gone to bed. And when I woke up, mom and dad told us that she was gone, but I'd had a dream that night. So I had no reason to know she'd gone already, right? And she literally came and got me and took me in this dream to Enchanted Village, which was like a little amusement park in our area. And we laid out a picnic blanket and we sat on the picnic blanket and had a whole conversation. I can still visualize like the blanket and what it looked like that day because it was that intensive a memory. And we had this whole day and she was telling me stuff like, just remember, I love you. And like, I'm here for you. And like this kind of stuff. And she was not a very touchy feely woman in life. Like she was very formidable and like warm, but not like effusive in that kind of way.
Right.
And so she was just very comforting. And it was a really like real human kind of sit down moment with her. And then I woke up and found out she'd passed in the night. And it's like, you can't have I don't think you can have an experience like that and then tell yourself there's nothing. Like
the first time I ever had something really impactful, it was a dream as well.
Yeah.
I was very young. My grandmother's sister, now she was one of 14. One of her sisters passed away, which was my nanny Judith, right? And I called her nanny Judith because she was my mom's nanny, which is like godmother down here. And I was still in elementary school. I'm like 98% sure. If not, I was like maybe 6th or 7th grade. So I was pretty young. And I remember, like you said, like everything was so vivid. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was having a dream like that I was in my friend's house. But then I saw the recliner move, this like suede navy blue recliner. Okay. And I saw it kind of move. And in my dream, I turned and she was sitting on the recliner. And she was like, my baby, I need you to tell your mama, because I was my grandma, that's what I called her, that I'm okay. And she was like, baby, I need you to tell her, okay? And I was like, kind of freaked out, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it felt so different. I was like immediately not dreaming, not dreaming, right?
Yeah.
Like this was something crazy. And like I was like, and I sat on it for a couple of hours before I told my mom.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh no, I'm gonna go tell my mom. I was like, oh, okay. And like that was it. Like she believed me. She went to my grandma, and that was it. But like it was just such like that changed my brain chemistry.
Yeah, those things will absolutely
like,
change your brain chemistry because you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No.
And when you have an experience like that, you can never unknow or unexperience that thing. Like my experience with my grandma, or like these kind of moments where you just You can't, there's no logicking it away. There's some really interesting commentary happening in the chat that I just wanted to highlight. So it's just Crystal said, I've had the experience with the dead. They can't tell you. And it's just Crystal said this a little higher up too, that they can't tell you. I get the idea that we can't understand all of it from the perspective of the living. And then she goes on to say, I'm not sure I'm explaining this correctly at all. I've been told lots of stuff, but not the describe what happens when we are dead. This makes so much sense that we would not be able to understand it from the perspective of the living. I think there's plenty out there that we just is outside of what we can conceptualize from our life in this body.
Only thing I will say to this,
Yeah.
which I do believe there's got to be something like this only because of what has just my personal experience.
Yeah.
So my grandpa died. That was my person.
Yeah.
My papa died in 2004. Okay. I was there. Tragic. A couple weeks later, I had this dream where we were in his house and he was back behind. So they had converted this old shed. It was like an A-frame shed, and he built a house inside. So it was like kind of protected, whatever. But you could go in like the garage, you could go on the side of the house where it was like just the tin between that and the built wall, the structure, because it leaned, right?
Yeah.
So he was back behind there and he was doing something. But he's like, I wanted to come to tell you that I'm okay, but I have to do some stuff. I have to get some stuff done right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know how long I'll be, but I'm okay. I'm here. I just have to work on some stuff. And that was the only time, except for maybe the first 1 or 2 days after he passed, that I had felt anything. I had a dream I don't know if it was a couple months later. It might have even been a year later. I don't remember the timeline, but like I remember waking up because I was like sob crying and I like woke Jacob up because he had came back and he was sitting in the front of his truck. Oh, sorry. When I was little, yeah. When I was little, I would sit in the back of the truck. So dangerous. Yeah. Don't ever let your children do this.
I did that too with my dad. Yeah.
Well, my grandpa had the window that opened and I was always fascinated with it. I loved it so much. Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes he'd put the camper on, like a little camper top on top of the bed of the truck, and I'd sit in there, or I'd just be riding in there and holding on, right?
Yeah.
So I had a dream I was in the back of his truck and the window was open and he turned around and he said, I'm done. I'm finished.
Oh, yeah. And that's a lot. Yeah. But he let you know. That's so beautiful. He did. That he's like, you know what?
He did. And it's so weird because like I have had these kind of experiences throughout my life. But that was impactful because like he said it and then never again. Like sometimes I feel like I can kind of reach out and be like, I can find their energy.
Yeah.
Do you know? It's like kind of like having that reach, like, okay, I can still feel them. I can still feel them around.
But not
I never have.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's heartbreaking because you lose that contact, but it's so, I imagine I shouldn't say it is. I imagine that it's also in a way very comforting and soothing to know that he was done and got to go where he needed to go, you know?
Yeah.
Sarah says, Grandma sent me a couple of messages via my Labyrinth tarot. Every time I get the star card, I know it's her because that's Lancelot the bear. Like she's giving me a big hug. I love that. And Krista says, I had an experience like that with my grandpa too. A message he had work to do before he could talk to me. Yeah.
See, that's so cool. See, I think this is why it's important to say, and that's what I was saying earlier when I was like, I've never met a person that has never had anything.
Same.
Right? Like, me and my brother experienced something when my grandma passed away. We were both outside. We literally walked out of the house together. And the second we walked out of the house, this huge owl swooped down and stood in the yard.
Yeah.
Until we noticed it and it flew away.
Wow.
And it was just like the exact moment in the daylight. It's like everything was just like wait a second. And like my grandma was a person, like even on her last days, she asked what it was like outside.
Wow.
You know?
I love
So
that.
it was like her being able to go immediately outside, you know?
Yeah. You know, you said something interesting. You said that you've never met somebody who hadn't had an experience. I was just thinking, I was reflecting on that for a minute, because the thing is I have, but how do I describe this? This is going to sound, I don't know how to word this. It's not going to sound like, it's not meant to sound judgy at all. It's just,
Right.
I feel like I've definitely met, I can think of a couple of people, but the same people I can think of who've never expressed having any experiences like that are also people who seem very contained and a little and like rigid in their thinking. Like I'm not saying that they're like they have a specific worldview that's problematic or anything. I'm just saying like they're
Right.
just more their world is very orderly. And I think that there are people who are not open to those experiences because it would disrupt the orderliness
That
of
makes
their
sense.
world. Because I think there's some people I feel like I would not have had the experiences I had had if I wasn't ready for those experiences. And I
Right.
say that as somebody who has, because even our minds protect us. Like I had memories that I didn't recover until I was of an age and of a mental state where I could handle those memories. If our brains can do that for us, then why wouldn't the spirit realm or our loved ones also do that for us? Like, okay, she's not ready. Like she's not going to understand this. It's not going to work. It's going to be more upsetting than helpful kind of thing. And so I do think there's people who don't have those experiences, but only because I feel like it wouldn't be right for them in the first place to have
Right.
them.
And the reason I say like I've never met, because like I feel like, because I'm trying to recall like someone that I have personally talked to, if I've talked to them about this, that has never had anything. But it's like I said, though, I also think it's a lot of people that I get in these conversations with are from down here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our belief system is, I mean, born and bred. And like, I don't know, everyone I know, even if they don't, they're like, I don't believe it. I think it might've been this, but this weird thing happened this one time. Like they still have a story. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I've known people who don't believe and don't like whatever, but they all still have a story. Like,
yeah, I think the thing is, I think it's a universal experience. I've talked to enough people who have had something that, like I said, it's that whole thing of like, it can't be swept under the rug. You know, there's so much. It'd be like if everybody had an abduction. This is such a stupid example. It's like if everybody had an alien abduction story, we would all take alien abduction a lot more seriously, like as a concept. You know what I mean? So because so many of us have had these experiences, we're like, wow, this is something universal. This is something substantive and real. And even if we don't understand the mechanics of it, and that's something that I think trips people like me up a lot. It's like, I want to know how and what it means. But even when we don't understand the mechanics of it, we can acknowledge its existence.
right. I mean, we had a conversation, me and some friends the other day, and we were talking about that. It's like, you know, how much of what we do right now was magic a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just what we have, like, just because it hasn't been defined yet doesn't mean that it doesn't hold the same, I don't know, miraculousness within it.
Yeah. And there's so much we don't understand about the world and how it works and energy and how it moves. And yet new things about those topics are being discovered all of the time.
Right.
Like if you want to really dig into the science of things and go down the rabbit hole of like freaking quantum physics, it's incredible to think of some of the experiments they've done and like where objects have been completely removed but have impacted one another. They're not connected. They're not touching. Or like the meditation experiments they've done where they meditate with this object and then this one responds over here. Like that is crazy stuff. The way that particles behave differently, whether they're observed or not. Like there is some crazy stuff out there that we don't get. And the best example of that I've ever seen is, and it's a quantum physics example, but it talks about dimensions. It's like if you think about a two-dimensional world where everything is literally flat, right? Well, flat. A sphere, and this example is used in a movie about quantum physics, but a sphere comes down and lands on that flat land all people are going to see is a circle on the ground. They're not going to see the sphere because it's outside their understanding. Doesn't mean it's not a sphere. It means they're seeing it through this two-dimensional lens. So if we look at the world the same way and we think we're in a three-dimensional world, what does a fourth-dimensional experience look like through our lens? And it kind of speaks to what Crystal was saying earlier about how, to some degree, we can never quite understand what that post-death experience is because it's outside of our 3D experience.
Outside of our 3D, yeah. Well, in the same way that, where is this same consciousness at?
Yeah.
Before birth? Does it not, like, I always have trouble with that. I'm like, it still had to be there somewhere, though. Like, where was it before?
Except, was it individual or collective?
That's what I'm saying. Like, was it?
Yeah. I have theories about like
that like come together and then spark this space to put it. I don't know.
But I mean, I think that there's something collective and unified about us. I do. I believe that there's something collective and unified about us. And I feel like that source we come from, we return to. I think there's a flow there. But I don't know if what we see as individual consciousness is fixed. I think that's mutable. I think that's something that shifts and changes. Yeah, Fina Ray, I think it's individual and collective. I see it like a pomegranate. Oh, I love that visual.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Like, we can, like, part of a collective. Sci-fi. My brain just went to the Borg. Okay, but this is not what I'm thinking. But like, that's kind of like the nerdy way to express this idea that like you can be both an individual and part of a collective. And depending on whether you are incarnated into a body or not, it's going to be whether you're experiencing life as an individual or as a collective energy. But you can be both. I like that. I like that pomegranate visual a lot, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that really does. I love that.
Oh, interesting. Letty Louise, I was reading in A Witch's Tears today. Highly recommend. What's A Witch's Tears? Is it a book? About how since the first person everyone who has ever lived has experienced loss, millennia of human existence. Yeah, it is a collective experience. You cannot live without loss. And also, I thought about this, like, I think about this a lot of times. There's talks about like, what would it feel like if there was an afterlife with no unhappiness, no challenges, no grief, no loss? And sometimes I think of that and I go, yeah, that sounds really nice. But then it also sounds like really flat. Like, how can you experience joy without pain? And maybe that's just, again, a 2D versus 3D moment or 3D versus 4D moment where I'm like, I don't know what that would be like. Would it feel like anything? Would you miss, like, how can you even notice the good stuff?
How can you notice the good
in a contrast? Like,
yeah, well, and that's the whole thing. Like, you can't see a sheet of paper on a white sheet of paper on a white wall.
Yeah,
you'll
that's a
never
great
know
example.
that it's there. You have to change the color in order to see the contrast to appreciate the wall and the paper. Otherwise, they're just all one. So it's like, I feel like that's one of those things that I feel like our entire universe flows upon duality.
I agree.
Like, you cannot have one without the other. What you do with them is your own business, but you cannot have one without the other. Like, it just, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Because again, you lose the contrast.
Yeah.
And so,
like
you're saying, it could be that kind of
thing. Yeah. Because she says when you have experienced something heavy, the joy just feels so much more powerful. And then Crystal, maybe that's what the afterlife is and why pieces of us come back to do more. I don't know, just a theory. It's kind of like maybe that's what incarnation is about, is giving us those difficult experiences to create to appreciate maybe the ease of not being incarnated and what that's like. I've always thought of it kind of like school to a degree. Like, we come here to learn, we come here to grow and evolve. And we need the challenges and the difficulties, even when they're horrible, right? I feel like sometimes we need those things. And then I kind of go back and forth whether how much say we have over what we want to be challenged by in each incarnation. Like, how much do we choose some? Do we not choose any of it? Is it just rolling the dice and like part of your experience? But I very much feel like we do repeat the lessons that we don't learn.
And the craziest thing is, like, it's been very recently that like I went through a whole reincarnation rabbit hole when I was pregnant. I was having panic attacks. And that was one thing that I it just soothed me to read about stuff like that. But it's been very recently that I started thinking about the idea of, you know, pieces of our DNA. Like, our DNA have our ancestors. They're in here still.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely
we
they
can't
are.
separate them.
Yeah.
In the same way that once, you know, a child is born, you can't be like, you can't have my genes anymore. Let me take those back. Like, they're there. They're there.
Yep.
They've been tied to the tree. And it's like, how much of me is from 1603?
Yeah.
How much of me is from 1798?
Yeah.
How much
Isn't
of
that
me
crazy?
is coming through? Like, are these our experiences that we can still tap into?
Yeah.
Right? Like, never truly die as long as there's someone of the line.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Am I
You're back
frozen?
now.
Oh, good. It's like, I know one of us is frozen. I just don't know who. Yay, I'm back.
Okay.
No, the DNA tie-in is really interesting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like, because there are some things that pop up, and because I feel very tied, and, you know, we've talked about past lives before,
Yeah.
you know, speaking of death and stuff like that, but like, uh I will have these little things that will pop into my head that I'm like, dude, I can smell the room. I can see the way it was lit. I feel the air around me. I feel the clothes upon my body. I feel the shoes on my feet. And I'm like, I don't know
Yeah,
where
it's
the
so
fuck I
visceral.
am. I don't know where I am. I don't know when I am. I can guess, but this is not me. This is not
Yeah.
modern, but I'm there. Like, what is that? Why is that
Yeah.
such a core memory? And that's what got me thinking. I'm like, are our past lives just that DNA tied within us, and we can see these things sometimes, you know, because
Yeah.
technically we have lived those lives. We've
Well,
all
yeah.
lived all of those lives, because we
Yeah,
would
that
not
makes
be here had it not been in that
yeah,
order.
100%. Yeah, so there's got to be a connection there, a way to tap into that. That makes so much sense to me. It's why would, even if you just think about the, like what you were saying about DNA, just the way hereditary traits work, why would there not be an associated energetic signature with every chromosome or pair of chromosomes? I don't know. I forget how it works. I can
Yes.
picture the DNA strand, but I forget. I know that there's pairs of things. But like, why would there not be an energetic signature in that? It reminds me that another cheesy, like nerdy example is Avatar with the tree that they could connect to and like hear the voices of their ancestors. And
Yes.
something about that visual of the tree and being able to kind of connect in that way, it reminded me of DNA at the time. And I don't remember why. There was something about DNA with that though. But kind of that idea of like connecting to everything that makes you who you are.
It's just so
Yeah.
interesting.
Faye, I did provide the link. I put it in there. So if you scroll, if you see my post, you'll find the link to the, it's called Sacred Tears, A
Sacred
Witch's
tears.
Guide to Grief. And it's Courtney Weber. The foreword is by Christopher Penzak. It's got a purple pentacle on the cover. Anyway, but yeah. Ooh, Crystal says DNA equals stardust from your family collective.
I
Yeah, I
love
love
that.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Me too.
stardust of which we are made.
Yeah. It's really interesting because there's nothing that makes us feel like us that is related to our physical body. If you think about
No,
it. Not really.
not
Like
really. No.
thoughts,
It's all
dreams,
your
aspirations,
experience.
love, it's all internal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. What about psychopomps?
Explain.
Oh God. Psychopomps are like messengers between the world of the dead and the world of the living, and they exist in different cultures. Krista was reading a book about psychopomps. Not to put you on the spot, Crystal or Krista, if you're still here. She
Oh
was
my
reading a
gosh,
book
what
about
was it?
psychopomps. I forget what
Yeah.
the name of it was, but there's in cross culture there are these energies or these there's references to similar ideas in different cultures, but the idea that
Yes.
there's something that can travel between the realms of
Between
living and
worlds.
dead.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever experienced anything that felt like an in-between energy like that. What about you?
Let me think. I don't know if I have. I was trying to think of like a few different things. I know I've had experiences with mirrors, which was interesting. But again, I felt like it wasn't somebody saying like, "Hey, someone's trying to reach you," or "I'm bringing this message now." Okay. So I guess the only thing I would consider, but not no. I'm like, that's just guidance. No, I don't think I
Yeah.
ever have. I don't think I've ever had an experience like that.
I'm just wondering what experience would have prompted that mythology, because every time I've had an experience, it's always felt like it's coming from source.
From source or from the where it's,
That's what I mean,
coming
like
from.
that loved one or that
That person, that
yeah,
energy, directly
yeah.
from that. The only thing I could think of, which was why I was like debating in my head, I'm like, I do feel like I receive like, and I find feathers everywhere. Technically, that's a bird
Bird.
leaving a message,
Yeah, that would be like that
and
kind of energy.
possibly carrying. Now, I never thought about, which maybe the next time I find a feather, I will experiment.
Yeah.
I never thought of picking up the feather and asking a question or
That
talking
would be
to
such a cool
someone
practice though.
and like figure out who feels like they're around, what's trying to communicate, and then just like I acknowledge you and then allow it to go.
I think
that might be something worth a try.
I'm literally looking it up because I think birds there's a thing.
I know
In
there's
many
birds that
diverse
are messengers.
Okay, in many diverse cultures around the world, birds are believed to act as psychopomps, guides of souls. Their ability to move freely between the earth and sky often leads to their association with the journey between the physical world and the spirit world or afterlife. So specific birds associated with this, get this, you're going to love this: ravens and crows, owls, whippoorwills, doves, vultures, eagles, and hawks, and sometimes gulls, depending on the culture. But owls are associated with being psychopomps. It says in some Native American tribes, owls are considered messengers of death or the spirits of the deceased. But they're considered so in definition, Wiki says psychopomps are creatures, spirits, angels, demons, or deities in many religions whose responsibility is to escort newly deceased souls from earth to the afterlife. So this idea that basically they're either guides or messengers. Like there's like literally a video game I'm playing where a psychopomp is like a black crow and it comes to visit somebody. And it just kind of made me think about that. Like when my dad passed, my stepdad, when he passed, I started seeing this one particular robin everywhere. Every time I went outside, it was this one particular robin. And I knew for a fact there was a connection. But it's interesting that birds and feathers seem to be a common thing for as messengers. It's interesting to me as
Very
like, what is that
interesting.
tapping into? Yeah, Barb says, I found a feather while I was talking to my aunt to tell my dad her brother died. I kept it, and now when I find the same kind of feather, I feel like my dad was with me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, my brother and I both stopped dead in our tracks. Like it was a palpable feeling. And like he looked at me and he was like, that was for her, or that was her. One of the two. And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. Like it was crazy. So like, yeah, I could totally understand like that whole connection. But yeah, I guess that would be the only time I would say like that felt like, or like when I find actual feathers or like something like that where I feel like there's a communication going on. Not always. Like I know there are going to be chicken feathers in the yard because one of our neighbors have chickens.
Yeah.
I know what a chicken feather looks like. That's not a sign for me. But if I find a little spotted baby bird little feather in the middle of nowhere, then I'm like, oh, that's for me. That's for me right there.
I would be so intrigued next time you find one to hear what the experiment is like if you take it and then actually use it to ask a question or to see what comes through from that. That's very interesting to me.
I'm putting that out in the universe. We're gonna see how that works. I want to see if I can feel a difference, if like if there's a change in something.
Yeah, Letty says big on believing that birds are messengers of the other side. I mean, it does track, right? It would make some kind of sense.
Yeah.
Hi, Michelle. Maybe birds being able to fly are seen as being able to travel between realms. Yeah, that's one of the things that Google said was like, yeah, that basically there was a strong association because of their ability to connect with both earth and sky. They do kind of travel between realms in that way, in a visible way. Especially if you think of shamanic ways of looking at the world as like lower, middle, and upper worlds, for example, or land, sea, sky being different realms. So anything that can travel between those three, like think about a gull that can sit on the water, that can, or like a swan or something that can like be on water, be on land, and be in the air. I could see having a strong association with
that. Just makes sense, you know?
It does.
That's so interesting.
It is. Oh, have fun at D&D.
Oh, have fun. Awesome. Okay. So that makes me think, do we have are there any animals that, well, I don't know, that are associated maybe in the water? I don't think I've heard any tales like specifically about that. I mean, I've heard tales of, things dragging people in the water or calling people like, the sirens, or even like I did a little study on the Fufale, and they're the same as not the same, but similar to the will-o'-the-wisps, or, all these things that will they're said to be spirits who will pull you out to consume you. It's like, I feel like everything within the water feels very much like I'm going to take you, but things in the air are like, I don't know.
Well, I just Googled it while you were talking about it. Cetus, in Greek mythology, a Cetus is a large sea monster. Perseus slew a Cetus to save Andromeda from being sacrificed to it. And then when I scroll down a little bit, it does say in Etruscan mythology, the Cetia were regarded as psychopomps. So they're depicted frequently on sarcophagi and urns, along with dolphins and hippocamps. So hippocamps being like the horses that also have like the mermaid tail kind of thing, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do have some for because I was wondering if we have that ground kind of thing, because when I, especially when I think of winter, when I think of death, I'm like always like within the earth. So it's like hard to like imagine that well, they all have so many stories have water within the earth, right?
There would need to be, I feel, if there is a guide to carry the deceased to the afterlife on land, there would need to be one in water because of deaths at sea and things like that, right?
Right. And I mean, if you think about it, there's like the Sea of Souls, right? There are, all these depictions of like, having to cross a river to get to the underworld. There's always, the river Styx and all these legends where it's like, it's under, but there's also water there.
Yes.
But I mean, my connection when it comes to the dark goddess and the black waters. So that makes a lot of sense to me,
Yeah. I think I can't imagine there not being some energy, maybe one that shows up in whatever way makes sense to the person who's deceased, right? To sort of escort them to the next phase of their existence. To me, that feels like it would make sense. And also there's enough stories like near-death experience stories and such of having some sort of escort or someone who shows up in some way. Yeah, absolutely.
Something shows up.
Yeah.
Like some sort of entity shows up in pretty much almost every, I think I don't know. I watched something not long ago too about near-death experiences, and some people were talking about it, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's very rare to not have someone say that it felt like something or someone was there with them.
Agree. Yeah. There's a university somewhere that specifically studies children who have had near-death experiences.
Really?
And I think there's actually, hold on. Children, there's an article on the National Institute of Health.gov. I'm pretty sure there's an actual specific university. Yeah, the University of Lancashire and the University of Virginia are specifically studying children's near-death experiences. It says key findings. They're similar to adult NDEs, and it goes on from there. But basically, the University of Lancashire has a pilot study that highlights children's unsolicited NDE type experiences. And then the University of Virginia, in their Department of Psychiatry and Neurobehavioral Science, has explored the implication of NDEs and their after effects, including spiritual transformation. But I think there's even some books or something that I want to say somebody was referencing. I wish I could remember where I had this conversation. Wow. But you're specifically saying that there are some books that talk about, it makes sense to study specifically children's, I think, because they're less formed or fixed in their views. And we already know children are more sensitive to these sorts of things. Most of us who've had our most intense like psychic experiences were when we were kids, right? We didn't have a reason to overthink or doubt ourselves the same way. And so I think there's something really specifically powerful about that. So it'd be interesting to kind of compare notes. There's so many cohesive things when you start digging into NDEs that people experience, the tunnel of light and like all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like you can't really logic that away. Again, why is everybody who has no reason or has never even read another NDE or like a kid who's never experienced that, why would they describe all the same things unless there's something universal in that experience?
Exactly. And I think that's the wildest thing when I was reading up on reincarnations. What really just like blew my mind were the thousands upon thousands of researched stories that held weight, that were like, no, there's actual, like, we found the people that they said they knew.
Yeah,
that's things about those people that there was no way they knew. You know,
there's
like
some crazy stories like that. Yeah,
crazy stories.
Like the kid who was like, "Oh, blah blah blah. This is where I was, and this was the life." And then they go and they find all that stuff. Oh, that stuff is like wild,
bananas,
it's wild.
And that's the way I feel. In the same way with like NDEs, that they're like talking about, and like some of it, again, that's why I like the idea that they're doing it with children, because like, and like, oh, well, I saw this and this. I'm like, yeah, and you probably also read like 35 NDE stories, and you know, like you can fake it out, you know what I'm saying? But like, unless the kid is raised in an environment that's talked about, I think it's really hard to explain that away. Yeah, you know, 100%. Which is really interesting.
No, it's. I think.
Somebody, pause 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Go for it.
Somebody was saying something about the Polynesian cultures where the water is friend, not something to be conquered. Made me think of, what about stingrays? Aren't stingrays said to carry soul? So as soon as they said Polynesian, I was like, wait. I read this, or was it Maori? I had a book. I had something that talked about something like that. And it made me think about it. Anyway, I just wanted to touch that before that thing went away.
In certain ancient Mayan beliefs, stingrays had a minor association with the journey through the afterlife. Okay. Let's see. The association of Mayan mythology relates to the paddler gods, who are considered psychopomps, conveying souls through the cycle of death and rebirth. One of these deities is referred to as the stingray spine god, linking the creature to the journey through the underworld. Yeah, I don't know. The stingray's venomous spine was also used in ritual bloodletting, giving it a powerful connection to life, death, themes of life, death, and sacrifice. Interesting. I don't know.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I love it. I don't remember, but I love the stingray thing.
Oh.
all good. No, it's all good. I don't think I was saying anything that mattered. I just in general, this collective experience stuff is so fascinating to me. I think that's basically it in a nutshell.
Same. So in relation, we'll bring it back at an hour and 15 minutes in.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's bring in some tarot with this. Like, how do you, like, do you have certain certain ways that you interpret when the death card comes up? Do you have a, like, because some people have a very fixed, like, when this comes up, this is what it means, or like it can mean a chunk of these things, or do you allow death to kind of express itself naturally to you?
Yeah, I don't think I have a fixed for any card really at the end of the day when it comes to reading it in real time. I have certain places, like I'm always looking for an ending, and often an ending we're resisting. Oftentimes there's a little layer of that is connected loosely or more obviously into whatever is being discussed. But I have absolutely read the death card and it's meant death. And I've absolutely read the death card and it's meant just transformation and a transition from one to the other. I think the thing that the death card always has some link to, though, is something is marching forward, time or otherwise, whether you like it or not. Like something is happening, something is shifting, something, and it usually involves having to let go of something. There's always loss of some kind with the death.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't feel bad, sometimes death losses can feel liberating, but there's always a loss, I think, connected in some way. But no, it can express itself in wildly different ways depending on the context of the reading. But I think that's just my reading style in general.
Same.
But what about you? Yeah.
Yeah, mine is a lot of the same. Like it touches and goes on so many different things, because like I also wanted to talk about like how sometimes for me death is about something needing to be buried or something needing to be dug up. Like again, that like groundedness of like in the dirt. Is what's in the dirt need to be left there and walked away from, or is what's in the dirt need to be dug up just so you can see the proof? Like what's stuck in there, you know? That's but I find that I really kind of connect with that imagery when, especially like with the old like Marseille, you know, death has its scythe and it's kind of like plowing stuff down, and it's like it definitely reminds me of that same energy of like in the dirt. Like what belongs in the dirt now? What do you need to bury and walk away from?
Yeah. I think I caught most of that, but I caught where you said that the Marseille was like scythe is kind of like carving through and like kind of disturbing the ground in a lot of ways. Is that kind of what you were describing?
Yeah, kind of like what needs to be buried. What needs to be buried under, like it's time to dig the grave, put it in there.
Yeah, and there is different depictions. I have a in the deck I'm designing right now, for example, I'm showing somebody who has passed away in the imagery. And at the moment actually of that passing. So there's a candle that is always in their window. It's part of the story. And in this card, you see this person with their eyes closed, resting peacefully. And the candle flame has gone out and you see just this little tiny wisp of smoke in the window instead. And people around are they're having like a bit of a vigil. And I did that on purpose because it's interesting we sometimes shy away from that aspect of the card, number one. And this deck that I'm working on is all older people. So what better place to
really that. Show it.
Yeah. And you know, I think it's important because depending on what this ties into the question that Letty was asking about, does your perception, the meaning depend on the art and depiction too? Because it's like, yeah, depending on what I'm looking at, I might take a different approach to how I interpret it in that moment. It could be about what do we cling on to after something has ended? When is that clinging good? When are we clinging too hard? When is it that we need to like honor and release? Like you said, what needs to be buried? Like what are we still
what is dragging lingering behind us?
Yes. Yeah. And so sometimes I think that's a big part of the energy. And sometimes it's also about preparing ourselves, depending on whether you're looking forward to the death card in a reading What do we need to prepare ourselves? Maybe we need to hold life a little less tightly. Maybe we need to grip things a little looser, hold things with more of an open hand, and let life and death unfold as it's meant to, because we spend so much time pushing back against it and fighting against it. And in all aspects of our life, we don't want things to change. We don't want things to go away. We don't want things to shift. We want to live. If things are the way we want them right now, we want them to stay that way, like forever and ever and ever. Amen. And I think a lot of negotiating with the death card is about negotiating with ourselves and what we aren't willing to let go.
Absolutely.
It's tough stuff. It's tough stuff.
It is. I find it's usually, especially when it hits on something like that, where like, this is tough stuff. Like, man, what are you refusing to put down right now? Mm-hmm. What are you refusing to put down? Death is also a mercy. That's absolutely true. Sometimes it is like seeing someone suffer. Sometimes that last breath feels like you can finally breathe again. Mm-hmm. Not that you won't miss that person, that you didn't love that person, that you're not devastated without them, but to not watch them suffer is sometimes the sweetest gift that they can give us. Mm-hmm. Honestly.
Absolutely. Totally.
So yeah, it's like, I think that was one of the main reasons where I was like, let's talk about it. Cause I don't think we should be scared to talk about it. I think everybody, especially in our culture here, I just mean like in the United States and in this kind of like Western space, we try to hide them. We try to hide death. In every way, shape, or form. We try to pretend like it just doesn't exist. Or if it does, then we put it in a nice, neat little box and we call it a day.
We compartmentalize it. Yeah.
We definitely do. Everything is done behind the scenes. We don't prep our families anymore. We don't sit with the funeral candles lit and sleep with our loved ones in their state.
That's true.
We don't do this anymore because all of a sudden it's scary and nasty and dirty and horrible. And it's like, but that's why we're scared. Because we say we can't see it. It's too, this, it's too that. We can't see these things. We can't experience these things, or, that we just try to hide them away or make them go away as fast as we can. And now I'm not saying that we do like some people in the old, I'm sure there's people that do it now. I know there's some cultures that actually have their loved ones just kind of with them perpetually. Oh, yeah, I've seen that before. I don't know, but I've seen it. I've seen it on a documentary about death, because I, of course I watch death documentaries. Of
course you do.
But like,
absolutely.
But like, there have been times where people will keep bodies or parts of their loved ones until they go. And it's like, there's got to be a happy medium.
A balance.
Where we can
all about
understand balance. Somebody said something about the reality of death. It's so true. We need to see the reality of death. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like if not, then like it just makes us so scared.
We're scared and we're
understanding the part of life that this always happens. And like, that's what fascinated me. The first time I found out about death doulas, I had no idea that this existed, but I guess it's kind of like in the same breath as you would say, like sometimes people in hospice, not all people, but some people in hospice perform that function.
Yeah. Like palliative care nurse is such a, like, that's something that's such an important role. Yeah. Like hospice workers and palliative care workers, because there is a transition being experienced by the person who is dying and the people around them who are having to learn to let go. And it's all happening at the same time. And it is a wholly unique experience.
Yeah.
Wholly unique. And having guidance for that experience. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just think it's fascinating to me. And I think growing up in a space where we did have wakes, and we did see, now it was, embalmed and, things like that. And, not that I haven't seen death, I have, real and raw, but like, also it still had that kind of in my face. So like there was still like a knowledge, probably far too young to not have had a huge impact on me. But like I was faced with the dead body, and some people go there most of their lives without ever seeing one. And I'm just like, I feel like it's so important to talk about death and to look at death. And, you know, from a little weird kid who's always been fascinated with death because I was terrified of it. And I had to find a way to not cry myself to sleep at night because I was so scared, you know? So then I just became fascinated.
Yeah. I think looking at the thing that scares us is part of how we grow. I am terrified of certain types of loss. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of dying. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm not.
I'm not going to pretend I'm not.
I hate.
You know how many times I check my heart rate?
Yeah.
An idiot. Yeah, I get it.
But like, so I think some of it is also a process of, I don't want to say desensitizing ourselves, but maybe a little bit of exposure to sort of like mentally and emotionally prepare ourselves for what is the word I said? Like I've heard this saying somewhere, but I think it's more like something like loss is the price we pay for love, or there's this cheesy saying about that. But I think it's really, really true that if we don't understand the depth of one side, we can't fully appreciate the other side.
And I feel like in seeing it, it's not that we're desensitizing ourselves, but like we are experiencing the end of life in the same way that we've already experienced the beginning because we were born. So we've
like the full range of human experience.
This is the full range, like to know like this is what it looks like. And if you can see it and not have a fear around it, I'm not saying that some things aren't tragic and fearful and 100%. XYZ, because we all go through it, but like then not having to, but like being able to, I'm going to reframe that, being able to then take care of that loved one until you put them in the ground.
Yeah.
I think is incredibly powerful. And I really believe that because I feel like the last two people that I've experienced and you know, sat in a room with a body, it just felt like we were just holding vigil for a bit. We were just kind of saying, being like, this is our reality now.
Yeah.
You know, one was waited for and the other was
surprise
in an instant.
Yeah.
And so it was two totally different feels, but like you still sat there and was just like, this is a life.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like. And this is who we are now.
Yeah.
So we sit with them. We're not afraid of them. We laugh and joke with them in the room like they're still here, you know.
Yeah.
Like you can make those things, but it's just about understanding that and just like being in that moment and then just sitting with it. And I think it's like most people, everything with, you know, and I think that in seeing it, a good way to allow that to close and to see it close and to just like experience the moment instead of having it whisk from you and then it's loss and then more loss because now they're untouchable.
There's something to be said. Yeah, there's something to be said for having the moment to make it real, whether that is a viewing or some other thing, attending a funeral, anything to make it real. Because I think that lack of, when we don't experience that, I kind of hate the word closure now because I think it's sometimes like a lie and something that we look for that's not always accessible. But I think that having something that can kind of bring us into the reality of the experience, whatever that looks like, is really important, because otherwise we end up in this kind of lingering place where it doesn't feel real. And then when it eventually does feel real, like you said, we're experiencing it all over again. We're having like a double whammy. Yeah.
You know, we had, you know, there was experiences of that where like we had to quickly bury one of our loved ones. And because of COVID and the decisions of the immediate family, we then waited, I want to say 6 to 8 months before we had a memorial.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because we experienced both, but I understand you want other, like you want to have the thing and let other people come and have that moment, but it's like, it rips you open again.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Like I think
so
it's
we
more
also,
common with like cremation and stuff like that. There isn't a timeline on the service. You can have that done, and then the service, like with my mom, it was months. It was at least 2, maybe 3, and it wasn't COVID. Maybe it was. I can't remember. I don't know. I don't think it was COVID time. It was before that. And yeah, it was well before that, actually. My memory is terrible. But anyways, yeah, it was just, it took time to arrange and sort out and get everybody together. But that's a cultural difference between growing up around a situation where you're having a funeral that includes the body, or not, because those are two different timelines, right? Like it's a very different,
for us, it was
method.
like, and especially like my granny, like she passed away. We had the funeral the next day and buried her. Like,
yeah. Like, and if that's what you have experienced most of, it would be really jarring to then have to wait like that.
It was very jarring.
There was a lot of families that were impacted by that because of COVID.
Yeah. It's like, especially because we do view the body, we know, try to do that as quickly as possible,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Makes so much sense. There's something kind of, I think, good about getting through those experiences early in the process.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just waiting for it. And it's almost like you're on pause. There's like a limbo to that. Like, oh, okay, well, we're not actually having the service for another 6 weeks. Like, whatever it is. It's definitely
just tough. And like, but I also remember the first time I went to a funeral where there wasn't a body and there was no, like, there was just cremation, that I was well into my 30s before that ever happened.
That first time of like not having
it was, especially because it was one of my aunts.
Oh,
I want to say she was one of the only ones, and this was my grandma's, I say aunt, this is my great aunt, my grandma's sisters. I want to say she was the only one thus far that was cremated.
Yeah.
And so it was really like, it was strange.
Yeah. I could see that.
Because it felt like she was missing. It's like, as weird as it is, because I grew up in it, it's like, well, where's she at? Like,
where is she?
She's not here with us,
Yeah.
I think that was another thing that kind of really helped with some of the closure, and like seeing some of the little kids, like as I grew up, seeing the younger generations come in and experience something like this.
Yeah. It's
like you start to understand when, or like you start to see these kids, like when they're like, oh, I understand. Like, oh, I get it. So we're gonna, I don't know. It's like they just kind of roll with it. They're just like, oh, and then they'll tell you like, oh, she's over here or they're over here. And did you see what she's holding in her hand? Did you see what she, like when they start to just be comfortable with the situation and understand that they're gone, but like, this is all part of the process. It's just very interesting because the body's there, know?
So they can, Wow.
I want to be a tree when I'm dead. I've thought about
that too.
But I want to be a tree right here. I want to be here. I want to be.
I think what's appealing about the tree thing, at least for me, is like I like the idea of there being someplace to visit.
Me too.
And also being in nature. But the challenge I have with that, and where my brain goes, and I apologize if I'm messing with anybody else here, but just where my brain goes is like, but what happens if that tree doesn't make it or gets cut down, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where my brain goes. So I think the reason
I wouldn't be sad about it, because this is my theory in that. Okay. Because by the time, if it's not done in one of those actual memorial forests, but think about the people
there's memorial forests?
Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel
better. From what I understand, they're like starting memorial forests. But if you think about back in the day, sometimes that's what people did, was they just planted a tree or they buried someone under a tree.
Yeah.
Right? That was the marker. By the time someone comes to damage that tree, and not now, if it dies naturally, I mean, force of nature.
Yeah.
But by the time someone would come to maybe cut down that tree, it would be far longer than anyone else. Like, you have someone to protect that tree until it doesn't matter if there's a tree or not. You
I mean, I
know?
suppose, yeah. I like the idea of the gardens. I don't know, like my grandma, I love that they literally went in a helicopter over the mountain. And so like I look at, so they sprinkled their ashes on the mountain. Sorry about the skiers. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure they were far away from that. But it's kind of neat because now I look at the mountain and I'm like, I think of my grandma, which is awesome. I love the idea of the ocean, but yo, howdy, my mom went in the ocean. That was a traumatic experience trying to just get her in the. Okay, I'm gonna tell a really irreverent story. So if you do not like this kind of thing, tune out now. But we took her ashes. Yeah, we took her ashes to the beach and we were like, okay, how do we do this? Because there's wind and it's ash.
And there's waves and there's ash.
So we're like, okay, well, let's do it this way because we didn't want it to just go everywhere. So we're like, okay, we'll put it on the sand and then the tide can come and sweep it away. And we're like, this is so great. If you're gonna do this, make sure the tide is coming in and not out. When I tell you, we sprinkled these ashes, the water was getting further away, and we're like, holy shit, what do we do? So we're scooping it up and carrying the water. And on one hand, it was just the hilarity of the moment broke some of the tension, so that part was great. But it was the most impractical. If you're ever going to do this, legitimately, wade your ass into the water, okay?
Dip it in, open it under.
Exactly. Because we still don't know how much of it ever ended up. And like, you don't know. It looks like sand. It's just, and like, we thought we were all clever. We're like, let's just build a little shallow dip. Oh, this is so elegant. This is so perfect. And watch the water cut. Oh, watch the water get further away. Oh my God. So yeah, practicalities are important. If you're gonna do the ocean, get your ass out in the ocean for sure, or dump it off a boat or whatever. But like, actually, I don't think you're supposed to do that. Technically, I feel like you're not supposed to. There's probably rules about it, but
there's rules everywhere. But they bring their parents and people to Disneyland and sprinkle little bits and pieces throughout the park. Like, people still do it. People still do it.
I know lots of people that are like sprinkled in all over places. I don't know how I feel about the whole multi-location sprinkling. I'm not sure how I feel about. I don't know for myself. Like, would I want to be in multiple places? Like, I guess maybe that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to care, but I think the thing is, at the end of the day, these rituals are for the living. They're not for the dead. They are for the living.
And I'm like, I'm so torn because, like, I, of course, come from a place, like, we've all, you know, growing up here, we come from a place where there's a full marker for you.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like, there is a place to go to
visit.
A place to visit. Even though sometimes I feel like a connection there. But it's like, most people, if they're gonna haunt anything or be anywhere, it's usually not in the cemetery.
No, what a boring place to hang out.
Right? Ew. But like, still, there's still, like, you know, different things that, you know, make a cemetery feel the way that it does. But it's like, part of me is like, I was like, I want to be cremated. A part of me would love just a natural burial. I really think just getting back into the earth, not having to be in a concrete box within a casket, within a concrete whatever, you know, all the different layers that go into it. I'm like, when am I ever going to reach the soil? I'm not. Like, I don't like that because I know I'm not there, but I don't like the idea of being entombed. I want to be in the earth. I want to be in it.
Oh my God. Ashley says, y'all, Nana and Pappy were cremated and the funeral peeps prepared them together into a sort of small boat-like structure that was designed to sink.
What?
This sounds so beautiful. Where do I sign up? I want this. Oh, thank you, Barb. And then you set them out into the water. I think that is the most perfect idea. That's what I want to do. I want that because I would love to be in the ocean. Part of me loves that. But also now I want to see Barb's Link. So, you know, there's a place on Salt Spring Island apparently that does that. But, and y'all, I will say this, like on a more serious note, talk to your loved ones about this stuff. See what they want. Learn what would feel good to them. And like Peggy, every time I talk to her about this, the same exact stuff comes up. She's like, I don't care, just don't spend any money and make sure you get what you need. And I don't like, do not go to, she's like, do not have an expensive whatever. She's like, I do not want you
wasting anything.
Oh, yeah. She's like, I just don't want you, wasting your resources on. She's like, I'm not gonna care. I'm dead. Like, okay, fine, fair.
It's all for you. Well, and Jacob and I talk about that because I'm like, a part of me is like, it's still hard not to tie yourself to that. Well, then if I'm scattered, but I guess again, deep rooted, things from religion and folklore and things that we were taught down here, like the reason you don't burn the body or the reason you don't like separate it or this, that, and the other is because how are you going to come back? How are you going to do that? Like there was always something tied to it about like, why not to do something,
Yeah.
So it was like, now my dad and them, their generation is a lot different, but like most of them still are getting buried. Like it's just one of those things where you don't do that. But I'm like, no, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind cremation, but like also then I'm like, well, I don't want Lennon to have to lug me around. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. I don't want to be in a jar on somebody's shelf. I don't want anybody having to worry about that. Like I want cremation. To me, cremation also feels the most environmentally like the least intrusive. Like I don't want to take up a whole chunk of land. Like for what? I don't know, but I like the idea of people. I don't even know if anybody in my life would want a place to go visit. I would want a place to go visit somebody else, I think is the thing. Even if I didn't do it very often, just knowing I could if I needed them or felt lonely.
I think that's why we have some of the places in the mausoleums and stuff now that have places where you can actually, and you can put them with someone else. So let's say like, okay, so my grandma and grandpa have a spot in a mausoleum. If there's space and I wanted to be put in a jar and put in there with them, I could. To where I would, I could be cremated and still have a marker and a mausoleum space available kind of thing. Like there are things like that I know now where like someone has a place to visit, but you also don't have to carry it around and it's not going to get like, I don't know, somebody's not going to think it's a vase and bring it to Goodwill one day because I have seen people open up ashes.
Legitimately same. Yeah, no, I do not want any mix-ups. Yeah. The idea of compost makes a lot of sense.
Oh, composted, man. That would be so cool.
What if there was like a mushroom garden or something like that?
Let all the mushrooms grow.
I have issue. I've got mushrooms on the brain because I'm about to go into a mushroom study for 2 months with my members. We're doing Midnight Magic Tarot. And
but I love that idea. Matter of fact, the Botanical Daughter that I read was based on building something out of mushrooms from dead.
Really?
Yeah. It was awesome.
There's a card game about end of life. My mom is studying it as part of a university course. In Swedish, it's called Dobra, but it's translated from an American game. It's more about end of life. How interesting.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, why would they embalm if they're going to cremate? I don't really understand why.
The only reason I know that they do that here is some people still want a viewing. They still want to wake. So again, remember I told you we have, a lot of times we view the body. Some people still view the body and then cremate.
Oh, yeah. Barb sent me, there's a Salt Spring Island Natural Cemetery, a licensed cemetery and forest memorial. Choosing to be buried or scattered in the cemetery helps to preserve and protect acres of forested land in this particular valley, Burjoyne Valley in Salt Spring Island.
Wow.
That's really cool. A conservation burial ground, a licensed cemetery and forest memorial. So you have a place to go sprinkle, and it's also preserving land. That's really cool, actually.
That is really cool.
That's neat. Thanks, Barb.
Like I get having to protect and like keep, bodies away from, water tables and, I understand the schematics of things is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
However.
Yeah.
Like just put somebody in the ground and just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, I think it's interesting to have graveyards. I think it's an interesting thing that we do, because there are more, we can go and visit people that we've never even hoped to meet. We can go somewhere in a far off country and see someone's gravestone. You know what I mean? And know that that person lived.
Yeah, Letty says,
But
this
it's
is
like,
what I'm worried about. In the UK, we are running out of burial space. See, this is the thing. When you think about, practically speaking, when you think about the amount of land that is used for this, and you've got to ask
right.
yourself, we need land for farming. It is beautiful to, I imagine being able to visit gravestones and stuff being such a beautiful practice. I haven't lost anybody that had a gravestone, to be honest. So I've never had that experience. I've never even been to a cemetery plot of somebody I knew. Never. I've never had that experience. I don't even know what that's like. I think that's why I think about, where can I be sprinkled where somebody can still have a place? Because I don't know, the idea of having a place is very intriguing to me. It's such a different.
Oh my God. When you come here, I'm bringing you to multiple cemeteries. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I want you to visit some of my people.
I will
They
visit
have
your
a place.
people. Yeah.
They have a place. My people have a place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing though, but that's what I mean. Like, I love the idea that we have these things because of the memorialization. It's very interesting. It's so cool to see things that people have put on graves, and, you know, like how they've dealt with death and what it looks like for different people. It's so interesting to me, which is why I feel like this topic is infinite, because there are so many different traditions and stuff. But like, at the same time, I also feel like before we had these set places, people just dealt with what they dealt with, you know, like they were sunk, they were floated, they were burned, they were buried, they were wrapped, and they were put in the ground. Like, there was no fanfare, and we don't know any different.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's only when it comes to the piling of, you know, huge cities and, you know, this, that, and the other, where you have no space, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
there are cultures that deliberately have burial ceremonies that are meant to encourage decomposition and like returning to the earth. I want to say, and I might be misspeaking, that in certain Indian traditions, I had a coworker who was describing this process, and he said, yeah, that we wrap in cloth, and this is how we do, because we want that return to the earth. What is a sky burial? Because I'm sorry,
I've
ashes
heard
fall.
of sky burials.
They fall.
If it's what I'm thinking, just like open air. Okay, if I had the chance, if I could do anything,
yeah,
I would want to be, allow the birds of prey to eat. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of body farms. You just want to put me in the swamp?
I just have to show you. Look at,
and just let them do, and then figure out how my body's gonna look after it's been in the swamp, honey.
Swamp body. Look at my dog. He's laying. I don't know if you can see him. He's like
I'm
right
losing
there. Did you lose me? Oh no. Well, my dog is laying in the door. My internet looks strong. Is it me? Is it you? I can't tell. Who do you guys see talking in Frozen right now? Tell us in the chat. Oh. Am I here? Is Dani here? Oh, I guess it's me. I'm here. Okay. Okay, it's Dani. So she'll be back. In the meantime, so sky burial is specifically that. That's interesting. A high pillar, and the birds of prey can have the body. That is crazy. That is crazy. Welcome back. I was like, I can't tell which one of us it is.
It's totally me. I was like, no, because I was talking about wanting to be laid out in the swamp.
Yeah, it tells the swamp thing. So you want to be laid out in the swamp to what?
Okay, so there are these. Well, there are these body forms. They don't have them around here. But basically, you can just like some bodies, different bodies, like they want to see how the elements affect decomposition. They want to watch bodies decompose in different states, in different places, whatever. I'm like, dude, if I could legit, I'd be like, go put me in a swampy place in the basin and just let nature take its course, and you can see what it does, and then I'll be back in the earth. Like it'll be fine. You know?
I do not want anybody taking time-lapse photography of my decomposition, okay? I do not want to be in a body farm. No, thank you.
Listen, make
to know.
make art, film the whole thing, show it.
No. I veto this.
I'm here for this.
It's not my death, but I'm gonna veto it. I'm like, what if I were to see that? Like, excuse me, I do not want to stumble on a documentary of my bestie decomposing.
Listen, they would blur it out.
If I outlive you. Did you say they'll blur it out?
Blur it out.
Listen, study is fine. I have no problem with study. If they want to use my body and whatever and then cremate me, as long as the ashes eventually end up somewhere cool, I'm good. Yeah. Dani in the swamp being eaten by a gator. I mean,
about it.
That'd be so on brand.
And then somebody can eat the gator.
Yeah. Cycle of life, baby.
Circle of life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm here for it. Oh, I love watching the catacombs, and then that there's that old church that's like built with bones. Like built out of bones, because it was like a grave. It was like a pit, and they were running out of space. And these monks decorated this whole church. There are chandeliers. The walls are human bones. Everything is human bones. It's amazing.
I
would love to go to the catacombs in Paris and stuff.
Whew. Well,
and aren't there catacombs in? Is there one in Scotland?
What exactly is a catacomb? I need somebody to define.
Under the ground, so little kind of cemeteries under the ground. I guess it's a catacomb. I can picture them. I've seen images of them, and
lots of bone. There's more than one bone church. No.
Yes, look. Sedlick.
Sedlick ossuary.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna. Can I share my screen?
I'm
gonna try. Here we go.
Yes.
Does it? I think you have to add it, but okay, yeah.
Boom.
So, yeah. This is wild.
Look at that. Look at that.
This is an image from the Bohemian Gothic tarot.
And that is real life.
Wow. But why? I don't like it.
They were saying that everything was the bodies were piling up. There were just bones on top of bones, and they wanted to make something beautiful out of it. A memento mori,
kind of thing. I guess. Yeah. That is crazy.
Isn't that cool?
Never would I ever have thought that there was churches made of bones. I did not. This is trivia. I didn't know. Wow. That's something. I mean, some of it's pretty, but a lot of it is just really freaking creepy. Oh, look, because why not add to the why not have a skull and crossbones weather vane on the bone church? Sure. That makes so much sense. I think most of these are starting to repeat now, but yeah.
Oh, I love the reliquaries. I love seeing all the little reliquaries and and all the little fancy things that they put them in. The feet and the hands and the bust is so cool.
That is something.
Isn't that crazy?
Something. Wow. I don't know, man.
Oh, that was awesome.
Well, I learned something new today.
Welcome.
I now know there are churches made of human bones.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Absolutely. You guys, it has been almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know we have talked a lot of different things today, but thank you for hanging out with us and getting a little weird and talking about death in all shapes and forms today. This was fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked it.
Let us know if you want another topic like this, a sort of meandery, chit-chatty topic. If you have any you want us to cover, drop it in the comments.
Drop it in the comments. Let us know. Drop it underneath we definitely read through them. So yeah, if you guys want us to talk about certain topics, like it doesn't have to be tarot related. It can be anything. I mean, we're here to hang out and just like, you know, do whatever we want. So thank you guys for being here, and we will see you all very soon. Sending you all my love.
Bye.
Later, Gators.
Bye.